Question from John in Arizona, my favorite state. Arizona reminds me of early America when people were gathering together, said we've had enough, and they were having meetings, at the bars or whatever, at the pubs, right, saying, you know what, we're going to do something. We don't care. We're going to bet our lives, our fortunes, and our holdings, that this idea of freedom would grow. And he asked this question, do you know what's going on underground with genetic engineering?
Only that, there's that whole seed line. Oh, and there's one particular scripture from the Cave of Treasures, and it was during Alexander's time when he prayed to have this giant tribes and those lineages sealed in the north. And that may be reference to the North Pole, I don't know. But it talks about how at the end of days, when the Nephilim return, that the giants will be loosed again. And so, the giants, and there's a book called The Smoky God that was written in the early 1800s by this one particular fisherman that sailed and got lost in the North Pole and spent some time with a giant tribe. And this particular tribe was benevolent. They weren't flesh eaters and blood drinkers, which a lot of giant tribes were. That's why the flood was brought in the first place. But there's a lot of that going on, and then there's the reptilians. We've got the government working in these deep underground bases with the fallen angels and their particular seed lines. There's all kind of mutations and genetic experiments going on, just like with all the hybrids that were created in the days of old. This is the days of Noah, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be.
I'm looking forward to seeing some of these giant rascals run around. I'm going to kick them in the shin, man. When some said that when the big flood happens, and that some of these nastier dudes went underground. But I always thought, well, how come the water didn't flood down their underground caverns? They got a hatch?
Well, it says that there shall be giants in the earth before the flood and after. The war between the bloodlines was to go through the whole second age, the 7,000 years of duality. That war would be ended with the second coming of Yahushua, with judgment. Then the second world age would be ended, and we enter into the third world age, which begins with Revelation 19, 20, and 21. When we have the judgment and when the Lord assumes the judgment seat.
How close are we, Zen, to the judgment, end of the age?
No man knows the day or the hour, but we are called to recognize the signs and the seasons. I think we're close.
Didn't it say, though, nobody knows the days or hour except the Son of Man? Does he know?
Yes, and the Father.
And doesn't it say in another verse but we have the mind of Christ?
Yes, and that's why we're called to recognize the signs and the seasons.
Okay. All right. Somebody wanted to know if Judas could have been forgiven.
I don't believe so, because I feel that he had that election just like Esau, that he was coming in and he was chosen specifically to kill the Son of God, and that kind of a person has to be, fully evil and committed to that sin.
Somebody wants to know, Zen, what is your website?
My website is Fallen Angels, www.fallenangels.tv, and I do my radio shows at blogtalkradio.com/fallenangels.tv, or Fallen Angels TV, actually.
Okay. Alrighty, and I've got your website in my background here, and are you talking to Dr. Pugh?
Yes, Dr. Joy was actually the first person that I met that gave me confirmation that others were also being blessed with this discernment, because she also knows that Cain was a child of Lucifer's, and she and I have done a couple of series of video, and you can find those on my YouTube channel at Just type in Endeavor Freedom or Dr. Joy Pugh, and we've done actual videos where we explained in 3 hours the whole parable of the garden and cover in depth with all the different scriptures and quoted exactly how both of us came to this discernment. But she was confirmation for me, just like, out of the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses shall the truth be established. She was the first person that I met that gave me confirmation. And then I met the Cursed Net Radio guys, Byron LeBeau and Greg Messina and Richard Stout, and they were my third confirmation. And since then, I've met many, many, many people that know this truth.
And if somebody goes to your website, can they contact you through that?
Yes, I am actual Fallen Angels TV, so you can contact me through that.
Okay. All right. So basically then, well, let me ask you something, Zen. How many of each animal did Noah take on the ark?
2.
Are you sure about that?
I believe that's what it said, but I don't know. I'd have to read it again.
Okay. All right. Well, it was 2 of the clean and 7 of the unclean. But the reason I asked,
right. That's right. They took the unclean animals too.
Well, the reason I asked is because I have a little test I've given over time to, and I didn't mean this particularly for you, because you're actually helping me. I asked a series of questions for those who have been in church for 30 years. What fruit did Eve eat? Of course, they're going to say apple. Saying, I'd ask them, first of all, I'd say, how many of each animal did Noah take, or did Moses take on the ark? And of course, they missed that. It wasn't Moses. It was
That's funny, Daniel.
And then I'll ask them again. Then I say, okay, well, Moses didn't have an ark. And I say, well, how many did Noah take? And I'll say 2 inevitably. And then I'll ask them how many, are angels male or female? And they will, every time they'll say female. Of course, there's not, as far as I can tell, there's never been a single female angel listed in the Bible. So, but anyway, right. you kind of added another one. And I asked them what a cherubim is. And the typical church person will say, well, it's a little flying fat baby, because I was down at the Christian bookstore. Have you ever seen those coffee cups? And the coffee cups, they're little fat naked babies, and that's what they call cherubims flying around. Well, that's not, I don't know where they get that. That's got to be from a Catholic priest, okay, who just wants to see some naked kids. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. They're the ones who drew that. They're looking after them cherubims. They want the little naked white boys, and I'm telling you, I'm outing them right here on the program. But anyway, so I got carried away there, my bad. But I can add another one though, and that is, was Adam Cain's father? And
exactly.
then I'm going to say
that's one of the
he wasn't,
profile questions on our website. When people come and join, that's one of the profile questions. Can I ask you, Daniel, what do you think about what we're talking about? Do you see that maybe it's conceivable that Cain was a child of Lucifer?
Repeat that one more time.
Do you think that it might be plausible that Lucifer was the father of Cain?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's certainly some tawdry sexual events happenings going on in the garden based on what your research shows. There's been a lot of guests that come on, and I really hesitate to make definitive statements, like whether or not there are aliens or not, or different things. A lot of times I'll say yeah. So, based on what I've learned from you, I would say I'm definitely more inclined to believe that he is, because that evil had to come from somewhere, and I don't think that evil came. I have a very simple view of things. I'm certainly not an in-depth study of this subject as you are. I'm more like, because I talk to so many subjects, I've got so many pieces, and I'm looking for, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for threads. I can talk to somebody for an hour, or people can listen for 2 hours, a guest, but they're all probably going to remember 1 or 2 things, and hopefully the next guest, what may be a totally unrelated topic, might bring a piece of truth to that and form a chain to the actual truth that cannot be broken, that will last through time. You don't have to worry about changing because you discover something new. So I'm always discovering the truth. That being said,
you're covering a lot of territory, Daniel. You should be honored. And our community, really, we do honor you.